I hope to have God on my side, President Lincoln wrote in 1862 regarding the Union's chances for victory in the Civil War, but I must have Kentucky. That independence of spirit that you might call the nation's soul is alive and well in the farming communities of central Kentucky. My tiny town of Columbia might be considered poor by some standards. We don't look at it like that. We enjoy being on our own, making do with what we scratch out for ourselves. The land is the reason people stay, generation after generation. If you drive through Columbia, you'll see modest homes and trailers on slab foundations set near the road. Fields stretch out where cattle and horses graze. Nowadays, farming provides only a supplemental income for most families. Commutes of 20 to 60 miles are common to hold down day jobs. But the land keeps people returning to their homes at the end of the workday. This feeling of space that comes with owning the acres outside your back door. I'm not saying it's always wonderful. My home life growing up was like tumbling inside a washing machine as I shuttled around the middle of Kentucky with my mother. She was never content to stay in one place or with one man for too long. She was as smart as she was independent, though, and always landed some job that brought in a little money. Summers provided stability because my mother let me stay for weeks at Mike Meyer's farm. Mike was briefly married to my mother, and he legally adopted me when I was born. As for my biological father, I had no contact with him. I learned early on that just because you come from the same blood as someone doesn't mean they're family. Big Mike Meyer was my real dad as far as I was concerned. Big Mike, a University of Kentucky graduate, owned a 300-acre farm in Greensburg. He worked for Southern States, a farmer-owned cooperative, and brought in extra cash by raising beef cows. He lived in a plain house surrounded by open fields with no curtains on the windows or pictures on the walls. He came home each day, put on his overalls, and tended to chores. Big Mike liked a steady routine, hunting, and the satisfaction of a well-run farm. His dad, Dwight, owned a bigger farm on the other side of the creek. Dwight had served in the Marines and had later been an engineer. He held himself and others to rigid standards, as if he could see the proper ways of living by looking through his surveyor's scope. He was, and still is, a fair but hard-to-please man. Despite my falling short fairly often, he always seemed to think I was someone worth having in the family. If you can feel that from your family, nothing can touch you. When asked to describe my nature, Big Mike likes to tell the story of the ATV. Big Mike kept his all-terrain vehicle in the shed next to the house. Consisting of a motor, a seat, and 3 or 4 wheels, the ATV is a 20th century horse on farms across America. It goes anywhere on a few gallons of gasoline, and you don't have to shovel out the stable afterward. It can speed across fields, splash through creeks, and claw up hillsides. Without the ATV, life on a farm would be pure drudgery. As a 4-year-old, I was obsessed with it. I'd perch on the seat for hours, begging Dad to take me for one more ride. Finally, he decided to teach me a lesson. "Co," he said, which was my nickname, "I have work to do. No more rides. When you're big enough to start the machine yourself, you can drive it yourself." Since you had to kickstart it like a bulky motorcycle, Dad thought it would be a year or more before I could do that. He'd sit on the stoop after work, smiling as I pushed my little legs down time and again. This went on for weeks. The angrier I got, the more I tried. The thing would not budge. We are both pretty stubborn. Big Mike was in the kitchen when he finally heard the chug-chug and rushed outside to see me smiling brightly. I'd figured out how to climb up on the seat and jump down on the kick lever with all 40 pounds of me until that damn ATV started. So he let me take it for a spin. When I was 8, Dad brought me to his favorite tree stand on a cool October morning before dawn. He was brushing leaves away to climb up into the stand when a deer walked into the open behind him, not 50 feet from us. "Dad," I whispered, "there's a deer." He squinted over his shoulder in the thin light. "If it has horns," he whispered, "shoot it." I let go with a shotgun. The deer leaped straight up in the air and crashed down on its side without quivering. I had killed an 8-point buck. When we butchered the carcass, I was so excited that the warm guts and the heavy smell of the blood didn't bother me. In the years after that, hitting moving animals and birds gradually became second nature. Cutting up fresh kills, ugly as that sounds, accustomed me to what I would encounter a decade later on the battlefield.